You know, wild onions, wild garlic, it's one of the worst enemies as far as weeds go in my winter garden because they love the cool temperatures. As a matter of fact, they tend to disappear over summer and you forget that they are hibernating below the ground just waiting for cooler days. Well, just like wild onions and garlic, there are plenty of edible onions and garlic that you can grow in your vegetable garden this season. And today on New Southern Garden, that's exactly what we're talking about. Well, we planted these evergreen bunching onions from seed just maybe a couple of years ago now. And ever since, we've been cutting off the greens, harvesting them in order to use in the kitchen. But these bunching onions do naturally form a large clump over time. And it's time for us to divide them and reset them in our garden beds. Now, a lot like leeks, these bunching onions have a very tall and thick shaft, or of course we call this a blanched stem. And so we're going to divide them out, plant them back into the landscape or back into our garden beds, and then as they grow we'll mound up some soil around them so we have these nice tall straight stems. Of course, the bunching onions are a green onion, so you're harvesting the leaves, and you can harvest them 1 week and a few weeks later you can come back and harvest them again. They are not a true bulb type onion, so even though they have a swollen area at the base, we're not really harvesting this particular plant for the bulbs. We're really doing this and harvesting this for the foliage. Now, dividing these bunching onions is really super simple. All we do is we look at the clump we have and gently tease the roots apart. And you'll see here is one set, here is another onion set, and we just keep on going, using our fingers, pulling gently. I'd probably take this time to pull back some of the dry foliage. If it's yellow, I would leave it. You know, if it's still in this phase, you might leave it because the plant can pull water and nutrition out of this leaf to feed the stem. So we just keep going, keep kind of teasing them apart. They're not really connected together very well at the base. Maybe in their young phase they are. You'll see we just have a ton of these tiny little sets. And we're going to plant each one of these individually and space them a few inches apart to regain that clump. So let's get these to our raised beds. Now, evergreen bunching onions, they are truly a perennial, which means that you don't have to replant them year after year. So again, like I said, we seeded these a couple of years ago and they become strong and vigorous plants, and we're going to replant them, putting space between each individual plant so that it can rebunch and regrow. That way we'll have an endless supply of onions. So of course, as we have here, we will probably try to set our bunching onions about 6 inches apart from each other. So we're going to come in here, dig a nice little hole. Now, the depth doesn't matter so much. As a matter of fact, if you just want the greens, the depth really doesn't matter. But if you do want to have more of a leek style bunching onion, then you can plant them a little shallower, maybe just a couple of inches, and then every couple of weeks, maybe every third week, come in and hill up around this plant, and that will not allow light to hit the shaft of the plant, and that will give you a nice, brilliant white stem, much like you look for in leeks. Now, another thing that we want to do here is we want to offset our plants in between each row. So, for instance, we'll have a line of plants this way, and then the second row will fall in between the two plants in the first row. So we're essentially making a triad of plants as we go along, or you may call it a triangle. So we are making a triangular fashion planting. We call it sort of offsetting. All right, well, that's a pretty few good little rows of onions, bunching evergreen onions. Other than maybe fertilizing them with some organic fertilizer throughout the growing season, watering them in, they're ready to take off and start regrowing. And pretty soon, we'll be able to have some onions to chop up for fresh salads or seasoning in the kitchen. Well, I hope that this video has helped you understand how an evergreen bunching onion grows. It's not a bulb type onion, it is more like a leek with a nice blanched stem. And of course, they're super easy once you get them started from seed to divide, pull apart, and then replant into nice pretty rows. And like I said, in just a few weeks, we'll have some nice thick rows of evergreen bunching onions. Well, thanks for joining me on New Southern Garden. Of course, I'm Nathan Wilson. I hope that you check us out on newsoutherngarden.com. Be sure to check us out on your favorite podcasting apps. Like, comment, subscribe to YouTube here, and we'll be glad to see you in the next video. Stay well and grow well.